What's up everybody, my name's Big Kim and welcome back to another movie review, and today we are talking about 2018's Mortal Engines, which I'm sure many people have not seen. It was off of streaming for a while and now it's back on Peacock, and I was watching it last night, and the only reason I really watched it last night is because I was willing to rent it a couple months back when I was looking at this movie to watch, and then I saw it for free, so I was like, oh, I gotta hop on that opportunity, right? Before it's off of this streaming and gone again, you know? But this movie is from director Christian Rivers, who seems to not have done many other movies before this. You know, I believe this was like his directorial debut, but his origin story says that he is from New Zealand and he was a storyboard artist, visual effects supervisor, and special effects technician and director. He first met Peter Jackson as a 17-year-old and storyboarded all of Peter Jackson's films since Brain Dead. He made his directing debut in the film adaptation of Mortal Engines. So this must have been a book or something. So this guy, Christian Rivers, seems to have made his way with Peter Jackson, who did the Lord of the Rings films. It says that this guy was an actor in the Lord of the Rings films. It says he was also additional directing for King Kong. Interesting. Which was done with Andy Serkis, who was Gollum from the Lord of the Rings, right? And also King Kong was Peter Jackson. So, you know, he's been working alongside Peter Jackson for a long time. And then it seems that he helmed this movie for his first directorial debut. And I didn't think it was bad for like a directorial debut. I did think the idea for this was incredible, right? Like the cities are now machines, and like London's this rolling tank, and like, you know, it's an engine, right? Like everybody's living on this engine and it's just chugging, and then what they're trying to do is feed this engine so that it can keep going, or all the people are going to die out. So they're like, they have like a, you know, some type of cause where you're like, you can understand them, but then they're also kind of the villain because they're eating these smaller cities or smaller, you know, communities to feed their big machine, and these smaller people just are trying to survive, you know. So, and then there's air people in the Chinese wall that's keeping them safe because they're not mobile. They're like, they have like an actual city still. They're not a mobile city like London is, and I'm sure there's other Mortal Engines out there as well, but the biggest one we see is London, and then like these other smaller little nook and cranny types of engine machine type things. But like, I think this movie would have been extra special if it had like a star. Like if it, say, you know, when I first clicked on this, and Hera Hilmar, who plays Hester Shaw in this film, like the main actress in this movie, who has a crazy scar going down her face the whole film, and you're just like, goddamn, poor broad. But just by seeing like the poster with like the red bandana over her face and just the eyes, I was like, is that Vanessa Kirby, or is that Rebecca Ferguson? Like, I was like, I'll watch it and really love it if it's between them two. But then, you know, Hera Hilmar won me over as Hester. And then even Robert Sheehan, who plays Tom, and he's better known for his work in The Umbrella Academy, which he plays like a weirdo, crazy guy in that, but, you know, he definitely fitting in that. But he was also in Geostorm, a couple movies with Nick Cage, you know, Season of the Witch, he was in Bad Samaritan, and he was good. And of course, if you guys know me, I'm a sucker for a love story. So as soon as Hester and Tom start falling for each other, I was here for that. I was like, are they gonna make it through? Are they gonna fall in love? Are they gonna kiss? Which they do not kiss. So that, as somebody that's a love story fucking person, they do kind of fall in love and end up together by the end. And it's implied that they go off together, but you know, they don't kiss, and I wanted them to. But the main villain in this is Hugo Weaving, which is always good. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a Hugo Weaving role and he phoned it in. You know what I mean? Like, Hugo Weaving always brings it, and he's always a badass. And he's always a villain, right? Like, whether it's Red Skull or Agent whatever from Matrix, you know, like, he's always the bad guy. I mean, maybe in the Lord of the Rings he's not, but like, that's a very old movie. Like, the ones I just named are more recent. But, you know, still love to see Hugo Weaving out there working, you know, and what's he been doing recently? I want to see him back. V is for Vendetta. Oh, I love Hugo Weaving. But one of my favorite characters in this, and you can see her on this poster here, she's got the glasses on and the red jacket with the shotgun, and this character's name was Fang, Miss Fang, who definitely had like a huge bounty on her head, and she was a badass. And she was played by Jihae, Jihae. So sorry, but Jihae Kim is a South Korean composer, songwriter, and actress, and she hasn't done a whole lot of acting roles. This seems to be one of the only real big movies, but she was gorgeous and a badass. So I thought she was one of the only people in this that were perfectly cast. I was like, Fang is so sexy, so badass. I gotta see more of her. And then, of course, you know, spoilers, but she doesn't make it because she sacrifices herself in an epic way. But like, it could have, like, they didn't need to do that. She could have, you know, I'll be fine, you know, like, and made it. They didn't have to kill her off, but it was like one of the only moments of the movie that was like heartfelt, and you're like, oh no, not her, you know, like. But she did have a pretty badass ship, and then she gives it to Tom, and he looks after it for her as he, you know, saves Hester. Stephen Lang, who is Quaritch from Avatar, you know, James Cameron's Avatar, he plays Shrike in this, who's like a robot type, you know, thing. And then there's also Reggae Champage in here, you know, and I recognized his face. So like, there's a few people in here that I recognized, but majority of the cast I didn't. And Fang is really the only thing in this movie that I was like, yeah, that was great. And I think there was like a brief little cameo from like Ndamna Kinsu for like a quick second. If you guys know, you know, like Ndamna Kinsu, the football player that used to be on the Dolphins or whatever. But I think he was in this movie, and I was just like, wait a second, was that the football player in Ndamna Kinsu? Comment below if you thought the same thing watching this. But overall, for me, I gave this movie 3 out of 5 stars, about a 6 out of 10. It's decent, it's good. I would watch a second one if the second one came out, but I don't know. Maybe this would have been a better movie if it was Peter Jackson rather than his, like, you know, visual effects artist apprentice type of guy. I think he did a good job, but it felt like something was missing. And I can't necessarily put my finger on what was missing, but it just felt like something was missing. Maybe just like a star leading the show. Like, it was two pretty unknown actors leading this movie, and maybe that alone made it not such a big movie, you know, like maybe people were expecting a Rebecca Ferguson or a Vanessa Kirby, and then they saw this girl and they go, I don't know who she is. And then the other guy, they maybe were expecting, just for example, a Tom Cruise, and they were like, who the fuck's this guy? I don't care, you know, and they move on. Maybe it came down to, you know, there was a bunch of people that backed out and these were the only 2 that they had left. Or maybe this director just chose these 2 and was like, I'm going to make a star out of these 2. And then, you know, the movie just didn't do that great. Comment below your thoughts if you saw this movie back in 2018 or if you've ever seen it. Maybe you haven't seen it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on Mortal Engines. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out on Peacock now. And then comment below your thoughts on it or message me on my other social medias. Links for those down in the description below. But if you made it this far on the video and you would like to support the channel, the best way to do that is liking this video, commenting down in the comment section below, subscribing if you're new, and hitting that bell so you don't miss future movie reviews and you get the notifications when those come out. Thank you guys once again. My name is Big Cam, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace.